Welcome to USMLE SARTI. We are committed to empowering IMGs. We're excited to guide you on your match journey. Don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified whenever we add new content. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for the latest tips and tricks regarding everything USMLE. Now, let's dive into it.
Again, welcome to the USMLE SARTI webinar. This weekend, we are going to have two webinars back to back. So one today, one tomorrow. I just want to make sure you're aware. Today's webinar is mostly going to talk about rotations, research, letter of recommendations, things like that. And it is primarily for those of you who are looking for rotations, research, maybe still in med school, have a lot of questions, how to look for rotations, how to look for research, so on and so forth. And then tomorrow we are going to talk about other aspects of match focused on applicants who are applying this season. So, you can work accordingly. We will have Q&A, so you can put questions in the chat and my team here and I will be able to help. Okay. So with that said, let's get started. So the reason for this webinar is because over the last month or so, me and my team have met hundreds of students in conferences and online meetings and all. And I think there was a lot of, still a lot of questions, especially from people who are starting their journey on rotations, research, confusion about LOR. So we thought we'll take this opportunity to give you a very comprehensive overview of all of that. Okay, so let me just share my screen, and it's a presentation I want to go through, and then I will answer questions that you may have. Okay, so let me share and tell me if it is visible, not visible, and then we'll go from there. So as I said, the title of today's webinar is How Do You Build a Competitive Profile for Match, geared mostly towards applicants who may be applying next season or so. Okay, so a bit about Sarthi, then we'll talk about what will determine your match, how do you find electives, how do you find rotations, how do you get strong LORs, and how do you get started with research. Okay. Before I do that, I did want to actually, have a poll which I will share. So for those of you who are not aware, we've been helping students in their math journey for the last 10 plus years, US based. We have a team of about 50 physician mentors and panelists. They are all in the US residency programs, attendings, fellows, residents. And then, of course, we have our team in India as well that help all the students. We help in everything around electives, or your hands-on experiences, externships, research, match guidance, and over the last 10 years, all put together about 11,000 students from 35 countries. We've helped a match rate of about 87%. Like I said, these are the services, rotations, exam prep, research. We have collaborations with Kaplan and Amboss. So if those of you looking for giveaways, we will have those here in this webinar. We'll share the links, match plans, research, and we'll talk about all of this in a minute. Okay. So before I do that, I actually wanted to make sure I knew where you guys were all coming from. So I thought I'll share a poll so that I am clear on where you guys are on. Okay, so you will see a poll on your screen, hopefully. Just want to know where you are in your journey, so med school or graduate. When do you want to apply for the match? And just a bit of sense of your knowledge about the process. That is important. What all you know, so that it will help us customize this presentation. And of course, what is your sense of the total cost of USMLE that you think you will incur? So as students are still joining, I thought I'll stop and just we'll get a sense of where you guys are coming from. It'll really help you and us. Okay, so I see a lot of students have already graduated, which is good. Many of you are applying in this season, so don't forget to join the webinar tomorrow. And most of you know much about the exams, which is a good thing. And many of you may be repeat applicants as well. So good. I'll make this live or stay live with this poll for a few minutes as you do it, and then we'll start. So tomorrow's webinar link. So Aarti, if you can post the link for tomorrow, that's a question. So yes, we will post it for tomorrow as well. Okay, so let me end the poll and share the results. So hopefully you can see the attendees and the level of knowledge and where they are, etc. So that's good. We will have Q&A at the end, so we'll answer these questions as well. So very good. Okay, let's get back to the presentation. Yes. So about Sarthi, hopefully. But more importantly, let's talk about what will determine your match. And the QR code here, and we'll have a lot of codes. So if you want to scan it, this will take you directly to the video that we have on this. So more details. Every time when I give you a QR code, you will, I'll not talk too much. You can go to that video. But what determines your match? There are quantitative factors and qualitative factors. The factors which are outlined in green color is what we are going to talk about today. So first up is scores. Scores, as you all know, are the most important determinants of match. Step 1 has gone pass fail. So CK is your make or break exam. Depending on your profile, you will also take step 3. Then US clinical experience, hopefully on site. This is one of the most critical things. People do match without step 3, but very few people can match without USCE. And there are exceptions, but for all of you, pretty much US clinical experience is going to be very, very important, at least 3 to 4 months. If you don't have visa, then we'll talk about online tele-rotations as well, but US clinical experience. So these are all quantitative factors. Visa requirement, it is what it is. You may need H1 or J1 visa, and as opposed to people who have green card or citizenship or other kind of work authorization. If you already have work authorization like H4 EADs or green card or citizenship, you can apply to larger number of programs. The score requirements are slightly lower. Strong LORs, something that we will talk about today. LORs are very, very important. They are the objective assessment of your performance as observed by US trained physicians in most cases. So waived LORs are very important, and at least try to get specialty specific LORs, 3 to 4 that you can use. Year of graduation and gap, again, very, very important. Generally, most programs prefer 3 years or less YOG. Some programs prefer 5 or less, which is good. And there are few programs that don't care about your year of graduation. It also depends on the specialty of your choice. So some specialties like family medicine may be open to a more older YOG. Gaps are a very red flag. Gaps can really hurt you, and we'll talk about how you overcome some of this. So once you get into the match season, then we talk about the ERAS CV, the importance of the ERAS CV and personal statement, something maybe we can talk about tomorrow. But remember that ERAS has changed the criteria last season. So you are limited to 10 experiences only. 10 experiences only on your ERAS CV. And that can be USCE, work experience, volunteering, that can be your research as well. Hobbies are now in a separate section starting this season. Again, personal statement focused on your goals, focused on a specialty is very important, but today we're not going to talk about that. Research experience has become very, very important in this journey. Like I said, as step one has gone pass fail, there is no such thing as CK. So programs are looking for a lot of ways to differentiate, especially IMG applicants. So published research is becoming very, very important, and we can talk about it in detail later on today. Interview performance, once you do all of that, your interviews become make or break. And again, interview is not something that happens overnight. At least the preparation, it takes months and months. And Sarthi students, of course, started very early. We start in July, August. Interview performance is not about communication. It is not about English. It is demonstrating your fit to the specialty, fit to the program. It is how you carry out a conversation with a stranger in 10 minutes to convince them of your skills and fit. There are people who match with one interview. There are people who don't match with 10 interviews. So remember, interview performance is very different than what you may have seen in your home country. Okay, so these are some of the very quantitative factors that determine the match, but there are qualitative factors also. We did a webinar, I think, 2 weeks ago, where we spoke about mistakes. So some of the qualitative factors which will be in the background, so you won't really see them on the CV. One is planning and preparation. So in all the entire phase of your USMLE, whether it's planning for exams, electives, research, your application season, that is very critical. You really need to set your own deadlines, and I'll show you some timeline also later during the season or during this presentation, and we can go over that. Then networking and outreach. We have a lot of classes on what is outreach, what is networking. How do you reach out to a program? How do you reach out to a program director? Which conferences to join? How do you use LinkedIn? How you use Chat GPT or other AI tools or social media? Your outreach to the programs, to the chief residents, to the residents can be the key for your match, especially if, say, you have lower scores or you're targeting your stretch programs, where it is important for you to demonstrate just because of the competition. For a 20 spot program in internal medicine, programs will receive about 3,000 applications within a week. So how do you differentiate when everyone may have similar scores, similar USC? So that's where the networking and outreach comes in play. Networking and outreach is not the definition of having your uncle and aunt in the program. If you have it, great, but that is not the definition. It is a professional networking, professional outreach. Then the question about balancing your skills and experience with reality. What do I mean by that? This is also a qualitative factor. A lot of students who, for example, may have done orthopedics residency in their home country, dermatology residency in their home country. They have their skills, they have their experience, but the reality of match is it's very hard to get into these programs or these specialties in the US. So how do you balance all that is also a factor. Sometimes you may have experience in one specialty, but your scores may not align with that specialty. If you got a 210, for example, then internal medicine is going to be a really stretch for you, right? So how do you balance all that is important. Volunteering, giving back to the community, always a big thing in the US. That will not give you the interview, but it will help you during the interview season. So remember, these are the qualitative factors. They don't give you probably the interviews other than the networking and outreach, but they help you during the season. Demonstrated leadership, whether it is part of your rotations, research, volunteering, big on leadership, right? So US is big on leadership, and that really counts. So qualitative factors, quantitative factors in match. Okay, remember these things, and of course we'll make this video available as well. Before I proceed, like I said, we have a lot of information on our YouTube channel, on Telegram. We run an open Telegram group. So if you want to join that, Instagram, where we'll post all the updates. So I'll stay here for a minute. If you want to grab these links, feel free, because that's where we generally post all the updates. Okay. Before I move on to rotations, let me see what questions you have. And I will take breaks between these sections so that I can answer any questions that I see. Anything on what are the determinants of match, any questions that you may have starting now. We did get a lot of questions from the audience, as part of the registration. So we'll go over that as well. First question, insights about anesthesiology residency. So anesthesia, and again, this is pretty much for tomorrow, but I'll give you a brief idea. Anesthesia is one of the harder ones, possibly. What they will definitely need is relevant US research and US rotations. The scores requirement is slightly higher than internal medicine. They do not do visa easily, but you can get into through a prelim surgery and then advanced anesthesia. Every year we have students who have matched in anesthesia, and we did have a student this year who did a YouTube video. So Aarti, if you can get that link to the anesthesia, how to match in anesthesia. I think it was Dr. Monmai who got that video. So we have a lot of information about anesthesia. The second question is about Sarthi's services. Can we buy individual item on the list you showed instead of buying packages? For example, can we just buy PS and CV review and program list? So unfortunately, program list is not something we sell. Program list is a very, very comprehensive database that we have, and it goes beyond program list. I'll show it to you tomorrow what it has. It has all the interview insight. It has details about where students match, where they interviewed, what profile they had, based on where you should apply. But yes, you can certainly buy the PS and CV review if we have availability. So Aarti, if you can give them Sejal's email, they can email her, and if we have availability, then we'll definitely get you these packages. Does experience as an ultrasound tech in the US count towards gap after biology? Yes, relevant experience, yes, it'll count. Job does count, so it does. But of course, we have to look at your profile before we answer other questions. But yes, it can count. Okay, now let's move on, and I'll take other questions as we go through it. So most of you, if you're going into the match, know this. You don't really have to worry about this. This is primarily a lot of confusions that we've seen from people who are just starting. So USC, of course, is a requirement of your residency applications, and LORs significantly will improve your match chances. Waived LOR, I'll talk about it. More importantly, the rotations will give you familiarity with the US healthcare system, bedside manners, how do discuss with attending, how do you interact with the patients and all that. The other thing which you should note is a lot of students talk about USC in terms of history, physical exams, and they saw 10, 15, 20 patients. That's all okay. You are expected to do history, physical, you're expected to interact with the patients, but it is all about what value you have added. So let me give you one example. If you are doing a hemonc rotation, it's not so much about history, physical. The program expect you to have had end of life discussion with the patients. How do you manage families in such situations? Those are the things you really, really have to think about when you go for USCE. Of course, there is networking also, but I want to give you a sense of what to get out of these USCE. Other questions that we get, how do I look for USCE, right? So obviously, if you are getting into the you are still a student, a lot of institutes have electives, and Aarti, you can send, and I will show you a list also of places where you can go. There is a YouTube video that we have done. You can look at that. That'll also show you things. Teaching hospitals, residency programs, all of this are offering rotations. You can use keywords. There's an ACGME website. You can use all of that. At Sarthi, of course, we do have 280 plus rotations, and I'll go over those rotations as well in a minute. So Aarti, if you can get our YouTube video in the chat box so that you can see where all to apply. And before I show you the list here, if there is still confusion, minimum 4 weeks per rotation is an expectation. Externships or hands-on are more important. Hands-on or electives where you have direct patient care, where you interact with patient under supervision, maybe make a management plan, discuss it with it, attending, use EMR systems. All those things are very, very important. There's another myth that I want to dispel at this point, that graduate students cannot do externship. They can all do externship. It depends on the states like New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Michigan. They are all open. Florida, Texas. As a graduate, our students have done it. You can check our website that Aarti is sharing, and you can do these rotations. So even as a graduate, you can do hands-on. Of course, if you're a student, you should absolutely try to do 3 months at least of these electives. Observerships are okay to do if you don't have anything else, but observership is like watching someone swim. So, you don't really learn swimming by observing. So, but it's still okay if you don't have any other option. Our suggestion is absolutely hands-on, and yes, you can do it. But there are cases when you cannot travel, then what do you do? And we'll talk about tele-rotations and what type of tele-rotations you can do, what type are more useful, all of that, and do they really matter now? Okay. So my team has put this together, so you can, even on the YouTube video, you'll see some of that. If you are still a student and if you are looking for electives, go to these universities directly, right? Make a list, go to our YouTube channel. All of this is available there. I'll quickly skim through this, but the requirements we have outlined, we have outline other things in that video that you can see. So pretty much any of these, if you get, that'll be good. And they are, of course, expensive, but pretty much worth it. So take a look at some of these. This is not a comprehensive list. So our videos are more comprehensive. So take a look at those and take a screenshot of this, although I'll make it available also on YouTube. Okay, so some of the other questions we get on rotations. When do I do my rotations? So obviously, if you're a student, and I'll show you the timeline, the most students do it during their internship period, especially students from India who can take a break during their internship. Most of them do it then, and then they also prepare for their step exams. Do you need step exams to do these rotation? Now, things have been changing ever since step one became pass fail. There will be some universities that do require a step one pass. I don't think anyone requires a CK also. So, but step one pass may be a requirement. Sarthi rotations, physicians and universities and hospitals we work with will waive off your step one. So that is not a requirement. Okay. In terms of documentation, some of them are very standard, but the programs may have other set of documentation. So some may have application form. A lot of them will have immunization requirements, health clearances, liability insurance, etc. Okay. Like I said, we do have more than 280 rotations, and I'll also share discounts today. You can go to this website or this QR code. You can filter by state, specialty, a lot of other factors. Our rotations actually start with I think $250 or $300. They go all the way up to 3,000 because it depends inpatient, outpatient, program director rotation, the state and the city. But the good thing is we work directly with the program. So we charge an application fee, but pretty much everything else is the hospital or the physician fee. So there is no additional markup. So you can compare these rotation fee to other providers and you will absolutely see a difference. Our rotations tend to be much cheaper compared to others. But of course, there are also discounts that you can look for. Okay, so let me see what other questions there are before I get into the exciting part of the giveaways. Let's see if I have questions that you have. If 6 months of internship extension taken to do USCE but ended up not doing it due to visa issues, how to explain this gap? Now, this is a real issue, right? So you got a 6 months extension, but there was visa issues. So did you do tele-rotations? If you were just sitting at home preparing for exams, I think that would be the best. Otherwise, of course, there are something volunteering that you could have done. Hopefully you did some of it. If not, as you are getting into the match, we can look into your profile and answer, how best you should use it. I'm a graduate yet to manage step one. So how should I manage the gap? So gap is absolutely an issue. I think up to 6 months to 9 months gap is okay. But after that, you should at least start working, at least on paper. I mean, gap is still a big issue. You cannot manage the gap. You should be maybe doing some research side by side, online research, maybe some rotations. I looked for a second radiology tele-rotation in Sarthi, but couldn't find any. So Arti, if you can take a look about, these radiology tele-rotation. So Sinai, if you just email Arti, Arti put your email and maybe we can get back to Sinai in terms of the radiology tele-rotation. Okay. Let me see if I missed any questions before I proceed. 229 in step 2 CK, what specialties should I consider? Do you recommend step 3? Okay, so this question is from Kamil. So Kamil, step 2 CK 229, it also depends on your experiences. I'd like to see the USCE, I'd like to see the work experience, and then maybe we can talk about it. If you are going into the match this season, then pretty much you have 2 or 3 months left. If you want to, set up either a profile review with us or join us, we can quickly assess in the next 2 months what you can do. Okay. Volunteering and its impact on matching. Like I said, volunteering will not give you interviews. Volunteering is giving back to the community. But volunteering is a good discussion during the interview discussion. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Okay. So, okay. So let me move on. So what we have is Amboss has agreed to give, for those of you preparing for the STEP exams, 20% discount. Get this QR code, fill up the form if you are interested, and they will get in touch with you up to 20% discount. Now, this is valid only for a couple of days. I think it expires on Monday. So at least go and fill in your name, details, etc., and you can get a 20% discount on Amboss Q banks if you are interested. So do that. Definitely fill up the form. Because the deadline, the link will expire, I think, Monday. And Aarti can also put the link on the chat. Okay. All right. All Sarthi rotations, research, and match giveaways. We were at a conference earlier, I think early June, late May. So we are extending that discount. So if you go to this page here, you will see all the rotations that are discounted, research which is discounted, match plans that are discounted. We are extending it till next Sunday. So go to this page and you will see a lot of discounts depending on what you are looking for. So there are Amboss discounts and then there are Sarthi discounts. Kaplan did offer a lot of discounts, but I think we already filled up on those discounts. So we have Amboss and Sarthi. Okay. So then the other questions which we saw you had was around the timeline. Now this is, again, for those of you who are students, this is a kind of a timeline. We do have videos on this also, but the screen was too cluttered. So I thought I'll not put the link and Aarti can put the link. Basically, the idea here is that, when do you go for step one? When do you take a break? When do you go for the USCE? When do you do the CK? And then working backwards from the season, a September application. When do you get ECFMG certified? When do you plan for step three? So all of this, hopefully, this chart is clear to you. Third year of your MBBS, take step one at the end of the third year. First half of internship, you got to be starting the CK prep, take CK, hopefully before you go for, USCE. That can help. But again, CK is a make or break exam now. So you got to really, really assess your performance before you go. Remember, 3 to 4 months of USCE is very important. Research opportunities, we will talk about what you can do when you are in your college or home country and all that. Volunteering opportunities, like I said, big in the US. So whether it is your PSM posting, working for NGOs, etc., all of that is important. So let me just now, this is for if you're a medical student. Now, if you're already in internship, then your race against time really starts if you want to apply as soon as possible. Remember, 3 years or less of YOG really gives you a big, big advantage. So if you are an intern, follow this timeline and, remembering that CK score is very critical. USCE is very critical, but I do get a lot of questions. Step one is pass fail now. Can I just do it in 1 month? I still recommend 3 to 5 months of step 1 prep, because the basics that you get from step 1, you really will need it in CK and step 3. In fact, in the last 2 weeks ago, that webinar was there, right? So one of our students did, she had a 260 plus in CK, and she spoke about some of those mistakes that students do, not focusing too much on step 1. So that is something you should be aware of. If you're a graduate, you really have to do it as soon as possible. There is absolutely no way, like I said, 3 to 5 years. But remember, applying with ECFMG certification becomes very important for you. Step 3 is important, again, depending on the CK score. Your experience is important, but USCE becomes more important for you. Okay. So if you fall in any of these categories and if you have questions, we'll certainly discuss, but I want to show you this timeline. Okay, let me see if we got other questions that came up. Is it worth doing tele-rotations for those who have visa issues for rotation in person? So hold on to this question, because I have a detailed discussion on this later on. Okay, so we'll discuss it today. I have 3+ year clinical experience in India and 15 months as volunteer in orphanage in India. Student in executive MBA healthcare administration. Does the clinical experience considered for the long YOG and gap? So clinical experience definitely will be considered, but I think USCE is still important for you. So I think this can cover your gap. Okay. Research opportunities in third year MBBS. Yes, we will talk about it later when we talk about research. Will this video be uploaded on YouTube? Yes, we will, give it a couple of days. Is ultrasound experience relevant in YOG? It depends on what you did. Job experience, yes, it is relevant, but it also depends on which specialty. But yes, overall, it is relevant. Do you have a link about the webinar with your student that had 260 plus explaining things? Yes. So it is already on YouTube. I think we did it 2 weeks ago. Look for the YouTube video, top mistakes to avoid in the match season. So maybe Aarti, you can post that link. It's already on YouTube. So like I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel and you will be able to kind of scroll through all the videos that I'm talking about. Anyway, coming back to the cost of USMLE, so that's where a lot of you gave your opinion on how much does it cost. We have a full blog on this. If you click on this, so it explains each and every aspect, whether it is USC, whether it is the match season, whether it is your exam prep material, all of that. So depending on certain variations between 21 to 25,000 US dollars, you can consider as a cost of this journey. So obviously, if you are in India, multiply it by 82, 83, whatever it is. So between 21 and 25,000 US dollars. And some of the factors we've outlined here, but the blog is fairly detailed, each and every aspect, because we do get a lot of questions. How much does this cost? How much does that cost? So go to that blog and you'll be able to see the cost. Okay. Now, the other question that has a lot of confusion. If you are sitting in your home country, what visa do you need? So visitor's visa, the B1, B2 is what a lot of you will need to come to the US. We do have obviously letters from physicians, letters from our lawyer, letters from Sarthi that you can use as a backup for visa interviews. In those letters, typically they will write observerships, if you are already a graduate. If you are a student, of course, they can write clerkships, etc. So there is a confusion. It's a B1, B2, that is the category, and you will get that visa. Of course, it all depends on your consulate and the timing. There may be lot of issues getting the visa, but you cannot come to US, for example, on J1 visa. There's no J1 visa for rotations unless you are already in the US on some other visa, dependent visa, etc., that you can do rotations. But for rotations, you do need B1, B2. If those of you who need help in the visa process, we do tie up with an agency in India, Revata, and they have helped a lot of students. So the link is here. Aarti can also post the link. So look at that link, and if you need help in the visa processes, we can certainly do that. Okay, now let's talk about what happens if you don't have time for either time or resources, or you don't have visa. So what is this tele-rotation? There are multiple types of tele-rotations, and yes, tele-rotations have gone down slightly in their impact after COVID. In COVID, everything was tele, but there are still tele-rotations that can be useful. And here, again, this Aarti can send you these links in the rotations where students have matched with tele-rotations only. So there are always students, even in this season, 2024 math season, we had students who could not do on-site rotations. They matched with tele-rotations. Last year or a couple of years ago, Dr. Sangam, who's from AIMS India, matched only with tele-rotations. This link, I think, is for a student from Pakistan who did only tele-rotations. So the point is there are different types of tele-rotations. What tele-rotations will be helpful? Either you actually get patient interaction. So a lot of our tele-rotations, what they do is they will assign you patients. They are in US time zones. So 8 a.m. Eastern to 12, or 1 Eastern to 5 Eastern, you're assigned 8 to 10 patients. You interact with those patients. Obviously, you cannot do physical exam, but those reports are sent to you. You interact with them, manage them, put data in the EMR, present them to the attending. So it's as good as a telehealth experience. Those tele-rotations are very useful. The other kind of tele-rotations are didactic tele-rotations, depending on where you are. So if you have a lot of experience, you are already a home country residency, you have maybe 3-4 years of inpatient experience in your home country, those tele-rotations then can be useful. Didactic tele-rotation. There are other tele-rotations that we have with program directors. Those tele-rotations you can use to build your network, your outreach. So tele-rotation, depending on the context, can be still very, very useful, especially if you cannot travel. And of course, they are comparatively cheaper because you end up saving money on housing, on travel, transportation, etc. However, if you are able to, then I strongly suggest doing on-site rotations. You can probably do 1 tele-rotation, but then do 3 on-site and 1 tele if you have visa and if you are able to. Okay. All right, so that was about rotations. Let me see if we have other questions before I move on. So let's see if you have questions. So Aarti, there is a question about Loreto rotation. So if they are available this month. I already answered questions about tele-rotations. So hopefully this will help. Let me see what else was there in the Q&A. I've completed internship, got registered, but my graduation certification will arrive only by January of 2025. Does this mean I'm still a student, not a graduate? I don't know. This is a very technical question. I think if you completed your internship and they have it in records that you graduated, probably for rotations, you can still swing it as a student. But I think when you apply for the ECFMG for the match, your rotation, you would be a graduate. How early do I need to plan for USCE after step 1? For example, if I'm planning to do rotations in the month of December and January, shall I apply right now? Couple of things. I mean, January and December tend to be slightly lighter months for rotations. But if you are directly applying to these universities, you should apply as soon as possible. If you are applying through Sarthi, we can definitely organize for December and January. I think we have spots. Okay, so that's that. And I'll take more question also. But then let's talk about letters of recommendation. Again, a lot of questions we got about letters of recommendation. So let's go. So we have detailed classes on each of this. How do you get a strong letter of recommendation? What exactly should be the components of letter of recommendation? What should come in first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, so on and so forth. How do you ask for a letter of recommendation? Do you just request on ERAS or not? So there's a complete class. And of course, if you are in our match plans, you will get step-by-step guidance. We also review your LORs if you are writing it yourself. So, but for those of you who are just getting started, LORs can be very, very powerful. They are, like I said, an objective third-party assessment of your skills and experience, especially for the USCE. Very, very essential for your match. And as an IMG, if your college is not well known, then these letters really, really help. Okay, so they will definitely read your letters of recommendation. They may not shortlist your application based on LORs, because shortlisting is generally done by filters, and filters don't read LORs. So again, how do you get good letters of recommendation? Like I said, some general kind of tips, but we have a lot of guidance on this. Clerkship letters, elective letters are very, very useful. IMG friendly state letters, of course, because most of you will match in New York, New Jersey, some of those IMG friendly states. I'm not saying California is not good, right? If you get an elective in Stanford, go for it. UCLA, go for it. So it's just that if you're going for as a graduate, then you really have to pick IMG friendly states. How do you ask for a letter of recommendation? The more feedback you get on a weekly basis, the more you can get a face-to-face interaction, sending your PS and CV, all those kind of things, highlighting bullet points. If you send an email, all that really helps. How many letters do you need? At least 3. We recommend 4, and mostly from the choice of specialty, mostly from the specialty that you are considering. All letters are obviously due by the ERAS deadline. In this year, if you are applying, try to get the letters uploaded by September 18th. It takes about a week to process. If you are doing a Sarthi rotation in September, we will definitely work with the preceptors to get these uploaded by 18th December. If you don't get it by 25th December, your application shows incomplete. That's a big issue. So if you have only 3 letters, that's it. So try 18th September upload. Other questions, are research LORs helpful? Absolutely. If you really are targeting a top program, then I think 3 USCE, 1 research letter can be very, very helpful. If you've not done research elective, if you're really looking to do research with LOR, we will talk about it, because we have courses that will give you research LOR also. The other question, only use waived letter of recommendations. Waived letters are where you, at least on paper, you have waived the right. It is uploaded directly by the preceptor using their emails, etc. So unwaived letters are absolutely not valued at all. Okay, so don't even go there. Okay. Dean's letter, now called MSPE, does not count towards an LOR. Again, a confusion that you may have. Okay. Common mistakes to avoid, obviously getting it from your uncle and aunt, just asking for an LOR, someone promises it, you use it. Waiting for the last minute, always a bad idea because they'll forget what you did. It'll be a very generic letter. If you don't provide enough information, specifically what you did, how you added value, like remember I spoke about hem-onc rotation, end of life discussion. Those are the points you need to convey to your letter writer. Personal letters from family and friends don't really matter. Home country LORs in most cases will not matter unless you have a home country residency, and that too 1 out of 4. Yeah, just a summary of LORs. Now, before I get into research, if there are other questions, let me see. Okay. I don't think I got other questions here. So, okay. Okay, I did get it. If I am in third year MBBS and I am gifted an LOR, I don't understand the question. Can I use it for 2026? So old LORs don't really matter, right? If you are taking an LOR in 2024 for 2026, September, the experience can come in eras, but the LOR you will need to get new. I've been trying to get MSP from my school, but school is not responding. Is it considered a red flag? So the good news is MSP doesn't really matter. It work through ECFMG. They will, take care of it. No one will read your MSP anyway. Don't even worry about it if you don't have MSPE. If I failed CK, what is your genuine suggestion for further planning? Well, CK is a red flag, absolutely. There is no doubt about it. The first is, what is your score after CK? So if you have a 250, 260 plus, great. If you have full-time research, then there are other options. If you have green cards, then there are other options. So it's not that CK failure means you cannot match. We may have to look at the choice of specialty. We may have to look at the profile to see where you can improve, maybe go into primary care, something like that. But yes, CK is a definite red flag, but you can still match. All right, so now let's get into research. Okay, so research, like I said, has become very important in the last few years. Increasing competition, step one going pass, fail, you know the factors, right? So if you have low scores, red flag, attempts, all of that, really, research can help. It can also help you network, because if you are doing research at a Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, those preceptors, those PIs can really call for you. Research absolutely is now needed in all specialties. In some it is less, in some it is more. So the road specialty, radio, ortho, anesthesia, derm, surgery, absolutely much more. But it does not mean neurology and IM don't need research, right? So if you look at NRMP data, and we did have a lot of other videos where we have said importance of research. So again, if you go to our YouTube channel, we have said neurology, how much research, IM, how much research, FM maybe slightly less, pathology more. So research is absolutely needed for your match. It may not be deal breaker if you have a 260 recent graduate, probably not, but most applicants will need research. So other question, when can I start research? You can start it in your med school, work with the faculty, or let's say you are in India, look for faculty which has returned from US. I know a lot of people have returned from US, could be in AIMS, could be in other institutes, work with them. Work with your professors on a case report, anything and everything that you can get started in your med school is a good idea. The sooner you start, the better it is, right? And then, of course, during the math season, I think if you have about 3 to 4 months, you can still quickly get to something to submit and I'll have some ideas. But overall, to do good research, you need 6+ months. Sometimes it can be full-time, sometimes it can be part-time, but absolutely you can start it in your med school, and it is profile dependent, like I said. How do you find research? So take a note of this page. I'll stay here for a minute. These are typically the institutes that are open to full-time research. A lot of our students have each year worked at these institutes, so we know that these institutes offer full-time research on J1. We do have, like I said, detailed Sarthi classes on how to look for research positions, how to approach them, what should a letter contain. But of course, in this webinar, it's not the scope. It will take us a lot of time if we just go into those details in the webinar. How do you find paid research position? Like I said, it depends. There's a whole lot of detail. Prior research experiences, their contacts, of course, help. Your visa status can impact your finding the research, but a lot of programs will be open on J1. Now comes, what if you cannot find full-time research? What if you don't have time? You're a student. What do you do with online research? So how do you start research during your electives and externships? Go to the preceptors where you are working, ask them about case reports during your rotations. Case report, case series is a good idea. How do you start your med school research? So I know ICMR research used to be big, but there are some issues with that. But still, you can still work with your med school, maybe work in a peer group, look for research ideas. Anything and everything that you can publish in your med school is golden. Of course, in the US, they will always prefer PubMed indexed journals, Scopus, or some of these indexed journals, but it does not mean your med school research is zero. Start early. The skills to focus on, a lot of people ask me, has to be statistics. So be good at statistics, learn the tools, learn SPSS, learn Strata, learn these tools that will help you analyze the data. Once you have those skills, you can probably add value to a lot of research projects, whether it is with the US faculty, whether it is with your faculty during the med school. Is online research useful? Yes, absolutely it is useful if you're not able to get full-time research. Will research LORs help? Yes, it does help. And like I said, we do have courses that you can join now if you are either applying for the match or you need research LORs, depending on the course. So this page will take you to the research course. There are courses, and Aarti will post that link, where you can still get an LOR with 3 months to go. If you want a research LOR, we do have such courses where you will be trained with the former Harvard faculty who was at Ames also, Dr. Basure, and you can get an LOR working on those research projects. And of course, there are other research projects that we have, depending on how much is your financial issues. The course fee varies. We start at, I think, $25 and it goes all the way up. So depending on what you need, what your timing is, we can definitely help with online research courses. All right, I have spoken for a lot in the last 1 hour. Just to summarize, there are courses and there are things you can do to match. There are some quantitative things that you can do that we spoke about: USCE, visas, LORs, research experiences. Others we will probably talk about tomorrow in the webinar. So Aarti, if you can post that link again for tomorrow's webinar. And there are qualitative factors. Some of it we spoke about today, planning and preparation. Some of it we'll speak tomorrow on networking, outreach, etc. With that, again, if you need more information, follow us on our social media and other channels. Telegram group we run where we answer questions, YouTube, Instagram. And now let's see what questions you have. Any questions that I may have missed, now is the time to add here. Telegram link. So I will, I'm going to give you the QR code, or Aarti can post the link again. Uh, yeah, so so I'll keep it here, and you can, you can grab the link for Telegram. Okay. Does home country mandatory social service count as volunteering? It can. I mean, volunteering is give back to the community. I don't recommend using pulse polio or some of those things as volunteering, but yeah, it can count. Can research on different areas useful for specialty in a different area? It depends, and the answer is yes. And this is something we discussed during our interview preparation also. How do you focus on transferable skills? What skills from research project in one specialty can be used in another? Yes, absolutely, it can be done. If you have letters from 2023 eras, should you ask your letter writers to write new letters? So basically, the date of the experience matters. It's not when they write the letter, so you can just transfer them over. Which programs can I get with step 2 of 256, no publication, year of graduation 3? So this is something that, like I said, there should be at least 150 programs. We have a complete Sarthi list that can give you filter on all these programs, where the students have interviewed, etc. So I don't remember all the 250 plus programs, but your CK score is a good one. Home country residency in OB/GYN, no gap, 2 years in medicine, YOG 2017, green card holder, all this will work. Well, this will work, but for which specialty? And I don't see your CK score. It's better to apply with a weak CV as a fresh graduate or next year with a stronger CV. It depends on what you mean by a stronger CV. Scores don't change. So if you already have your CK, might as well apply now. I think the only thing you may be missing is USC and or research. There's still time to either get tele, USC or research. But if you've done your CK, things are not going to change. Even if you don't have step 3, I would say selective application would be a good idea. Volunteer in USA and doing medical scribe with EMR. Does that help? It can help, but scribe jobs, more than the scribe jobs, you should focus on USC. But yes, it does help. How to get full-time research at Emory, Georgia, USA. Can you help where to approach? So like I said, for these universities, you got to go directly. We do have full-fledged classes on how to approach them for research and how to do research with us. But for specific university that we just listed out, you have to approach them directly. Okay, what other questions can I answer? Let me see. Anything in Q&A? Okay, I think I answered all the Q&A questions. Okay. All right. Well, this was it. I think hopefully it answered a lot of your questions, removed some doubts. And if you have questions about the Sarthi plans, etc., my team is here. Hopefully you were able to grab the links. Don't forget, if you're planning for CK, MBOS is offering 20% on the Q banks, and also grab the Sarthi links if you're planning for rotations, research, or match. Okay. With that, I will keep this chat open if you still need to grab the links, but that was it. See you tomorrow in our other webinar.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.